Okay,
Wow.
stop YouTubing now.
I know. I learned all kinds of stuff about grass on that Freedom Factory episode.
That was a great episode. Listen here now. I don't even have my show notes up. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
don't you know that?
Hold on a
You
second.
started
30
the
seconds.
recording.
And listeners,
Here we go.
No. Listeners, we've been on the phone now for like 15 minutes.
I know we're talking
Looking
about
at- looking at
YouTube
We were
videos.
here a half an hour before then.
Okay. Shh. I'm getting to the top.
Please.
I'm almost there. I'm
You're
almost
gonna run
there.
out of music
I'm almost there.
soon.
No, I won't. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemmy Champ or Lucky Track Dog league you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate. As long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and we get a new segment. We're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back to a sub-leader Sayat episode of our podcast. It's 133. If you're not driving a car, because you're probably not driving a car, because we're all on coronation, you should just right now give you 3 seconds, open your bingo, open the show notes, open your bingo card, because maybe you'll get bingo. And if you do, we want to hear about it because that gives us something to talk about and we'll be excited for you. So,
Yeah.
Coronation. I am so excited by this new word. I didn't read ahead, obviously, because I was totally surprised by it.
yes, I didn't write it. Sorry.
Fine.
It's fine. It's great. It's a word. I don't know if it makes me any happier about quarantine. It doesn't, but that's okay. It sounds fun. It sounds funner than it is.
Coronation is something I found on a meme.
It sounds funner than
Well, it's
it
not
is.
like we're actually having a coronation. I mean, all of us
No.
still are working.
No, like work-life
Full-time
balance
and
is like
stuff.
out the freaking door.
Yeah, it's worse than normal for you.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah,
okay.
it is worse than you. Yeah, no, my life is. I literally work about half the time.
Let's go right into it. Jeff,
Okay.
what you working on?
So this weekend we had the Coronation new children's fun called a drive-by birthday party. Raise
Okay.
your hand if you're familiar with this, because we're on video now.
I have heard of this. I've heard
Okay.
children doing
Chris,
this.
so Chris didn't raise his hand, so I'll explain it to him. Since you
Yeah.
can't have your friends over at a birthday, you all just get in the car, drive by their house, honk the horn, and wave.
Put up a
while
flyer
the-
that says they
Yeah.
sit on the roof and they put up a poster board that says "Happy Birthday" and everybody waves. Yes.
Yeah.
Can we have a drive-by work weekend where I just park outside your house and yell at you what to do? when you're-
How
And
wide?
No. It's not drive by if you're parked. So it's got to be like a. Loosen the engine mounts.
Well, they say drive-by, but you actually stop and
Yeah.
like honk and yell at each other for a few minutes.
Which we can do.
Happy birthday! Thank you! I brought my dog. Did you see? Yeah, he's cute. Okay, we're going to go now.
The teachers at my old school, and then also some of the teachers here have been doing that. They've been doing teacher parades where they drive around to their students' houses.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So anyway,
Your background just shifted to a new level of odd.
I know. For those of you who don't know, since we are on Coronation and the Zooming of America, we've started video recording these episodes. We hear the sound might be a little better. So go ahead and report to us if that is true. But eventually these will hit YouTube, so you can go back and see
Oh, they
us.
are? I did not.
Yeah, no.
Fine.
The
Dress
idea
for
is
this.
so like when instead of holding our phones up to the camera, we can actually now cut away with me, children, as we come over here and look at the internal combustion engine, and we'll be able to bring up when we're talking about, oh, hey, that car looks really cool.
Sure.
We'll be able to reference that on YouTube.
So I'm
Yeah.
going to just keep talking about what I'm working on.
Please.
Yeah.
So on Saturday, I was bringing my new elliptical from the garage to the house where I plan on working out,
Yay.
and it didn't really fit. So we got it like wedged in the stairs, and like my wife yelled at me a lot, like, I told you to take it apart. I said, no, it'll fit. It was a lot of fun. But in the process, I dinged my back.
No, you didn't.
Like,
No. Nope. You dinged your back sleeping on the couch after you yelled at your wife.
No, actually, because it was later that day where I was like, man, my back really hurts. So Sunday became a light working day, including I finished all the wiring project on my Titan, and I stared at the Z and made a plan.
We're staring at the Z and they get to work with it.
Stop staring! It's not wrenching. Yes.
Go ahead, Chris. Chris needs to talk here.
No. That's all. I knew there was some kind of excuse, but I didn't hear from you at all on Sunday. That was gotten done.
But we made a bet. You didn't say this. We made a bet. We said
I did car work. I just didn't do Z work.
And you said how much on Saturday? Oh, I'm mowing the lawn. Oh, I'm doing things outside. And somebody, I don't think it was either one of us, said, what are you doing about the Z? And you're like, yeah, that's
Sunday.
Yeah.
What did you do on
was my
Sunday?
Plan. Hurt his back and stare at it. That was his plan.
No, I did
the
more than
worst
stare at it.
excuse.
I took I finished the Titan, which was important because it was all over the place. So like I couldn't actually like drive the Titan because the interior was apart. So I did all that, and then I took the hood off, pulled the intake tubes, and kind of like rattled the radiator, going, oh, I'll pull that, and then I'll pull that, and then I'll pull that, and then it was dinner time. So
I really thought you would come up with a better excuse.
There's no
disappointed. I'm kind of disappointed. I was
like,
like,
come up with an excuse.
Your parents
We're
needed something.
Coronation.
Yeah. Jim wanted his snow tires off.
Right? Like your parents
that.
needed something. Jen needed something to be fixed.
I don't. Do we have
Comet got out, went for a walk.
Do we have to not curse because we're gonna someday be on YouTube?
I don't know.
Yeah, I see cursing. I see cursing on YouTube.
So at some point, I developed a bad case of the fuckets.
That time was in 1988.
Stop since
That was it. So
okay.
That's the end of my story. Mental, tell us what you're not working on.
Puzzles. I've got a to-do list. Like I'm the anti-Hamsa. Like my whole to-do list for the house, none of it's getting done. Vicky bought some puzzles and we've got a puzzle. Monday though was our 18-year anniversary, and we have a tradition on our anniversary. We have two anniversaries because we got Justice of the Peace anniversary, but we always go to a restaurant, sit at the bar, and eat dinner and talk to the bartender. And that comes back to our very first anniversary when I failed to make dinner reservations and just thought we would walk into the nice restaurant, and we ended up sitting at the bar, and it just kind of became our thing. But we couldn't go to one of our favorite chains because coronation. So I went to the grocery store and bought everything I could to actually duplicate a meal at Texas Roadhouse. So I got like a pair of steaks, and I got like butter, and I Googled how to make whipped butter so that, because they always have the rolls that they have on there, and we grilled steaks and made a salad. And so we had a lovely anniversary dinner on Monday.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yep. Vicky made a bunch of tortilla chips. So whipping its way across the United States there are 2 boxes of chips. One is going to your house, Jeff, and one is going to C&C Mayhem Factory. Knowing that Chrissy doesn't eat wheat, I figure 1 bag is going to Carol and 1 bag is going to Jen. And then Chris can just eat guacamole with the rest of them. And, yeah.
Okay.
Unless you don't care. Whatever. Anyway.
The lovely and talented Jennifer was very excited by this.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yes. So there's Star Wars Jen and then lovely and talented Jen, which is not to imply that Star Wars Jen isn't lovely or talented, but everyone knows Star Wars Jen. Anyway.
Well, we all know that my wife doesn't give a flip about Star Wars. So that's the way to tell them apart.
That's okay.
That's the way to, I've literally been trying to get competent with iRacing. I sat down and watched YouTube videos trying to match up an actual car that I have access to with a racetrack that I have access to. And I can now get a Spec Racer Ford within 8 seconds of a race winning pace on Laguna Seca. So I got that. I put in about 40 laps last night around Daytona's road course, just 2 sets of 20. Haven't gotten sick, so I think I'm starting to get used to it. Used to the VR
Start
thing.
driving some of the slower cars because that's what you're going to need to do for most of the stuff you're going to be doing. Whether
I
it's
know, and it's like
whether it's getting licenses or racing with us or racing with Lemons or racing with anybody, they're all just using normal cars.
I know the champ is going to use Caymans, so I was trying to do the Cayman because. God, I just don't remember Miatas understeering that damn much. I don't know of any Miata that understeers.
Or violently snap oversteering out of nowhere.
Seriously.
Yeah,
and you're going to tell me I can't recover from a lift throttle oversteer in third gear?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
right.
on.
That's
come
why
on.
I will tell you the Mustang, whatever, GT 500 RS or something like that, whatever it is quite good to drive. It'll understeer sometimes, it'll oversteer sometimes. You can catch it. It makes sense. It's pretty reasonable. It's fast, but not too fast. It's a good time.
I'm having a similar experience with the CTSV. I like the CTSV. It can kind of hang the tail end out a little bit. Was really enjoying the Cayman around Daytona though. That was fun. I'm learning also, like Chris, we talked about, you know how we're visceral drivers. You know, we know what the car's doing because we can feel it. So much of my knowledge of Daytona is references off the track. Like, oh, the stands where they do the speckle, all this kind of stuff. And the iRacing has none of the stands around Daytona. So I was having to redo all my markers. Anyway, my commute is getting alarmingly quick. I made it to work the other day in 12 minutes. And because I've got so many roads, I'm probably going to need rear tires soon. I leave the traction.
I believe the traction going to happen.
I leave the traction control on, but I wonder how fast I can get to 45. I could do it before I get across the intersection. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the problem. I mean, not a problem, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm saying your problem is somewhere in that sentence.
I'm in the happy phase of alcoholism with my addiction to that acceleration where, no, it's all good. I can quit anytime I want.
Yeah.
Moderation, my friend. Moderation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Is that the end?
Yes.
Oh. He just starts drinking alcohol. He's not like tossing it over. Chrissy, what are you working on?
Oh, okay. Weird. It's not my turn, but okay. Not much.
Who follows
you
the
didn't get
list?
skipped over, which is good.
I didn't.
Seriously, she's complaining about not getting skipped.
I'm not. I was busy looking for Cinco de Mayo videos to download for my background. It's a thing. Anyway, so I have been doing lots of cleaning. I did a fabulous cleanup of our basement where we work out every day. It just needed to be cleaned. It was one of those, like, we haven't been there in a while, and we go there all the time, just never clean it. So my mother has also been staying here for a while. She's switching things up from staying at Jen's and staying at our house. So we worked on cleaning her car in and out, and then we did some yard work, which will continue. I've got plenty to do, and but I do have some lovely flowers growing, planted a couple vegetables, except for there's some storms coming, and so I'm not sure how well my flowers will be staying there. So that's what I'm doing. And then same old. I still have no idea what day it is. I work out a couple times a day. I go to my office. I come downstairs. I go back to my office. Although the last couple of days I've been sitting out on the porch for the meetings.
I know it's not 422 sucks level of traffic, but I hear the stairs from your office to your lunch place can be cat laden. So be careful.
Yes, she usually runs down with us because she wants to go outside. So she does this thing where she stands at the top of the steps and she's like, oh, wait, are you going downstairs? Oh, okay, I'll go with you. And then she sprints down the stairs and meets us at the door.
Like almost under your feet.
Yes, I mean, she does four steps, and then she just across.
That's the infamous oatmeal. Your cat is trying to kill you.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but she's pretty nice, so it's not so bad.
So I don't know if you're still getting notifications or if you sign up for the level of notifications from 422sucks.com with my wife, like my wife does.
Yeah.
She is amazed how many major accidents still seem to be happening.
Yeah, there is.
She's like 6-car accident. Who the hell is going to work?
It's only 6 cars. Although I did see a really bad, somebody had posted a video of somebody who was, it was actually a rental U-Haul truck, just like the F-150. Yeah. But it's the F-150, and it passed on the shoulder, and there are 5 cars on the road, and this dash cam caught it. Really?
World's fastest and best off-road vehicle is a rented truck.
Rental car.
Really?
You can rent this. You can rent this mother for $29.95. Rent this mother for $29.95.
And you can pass on the shoulder because apparently that's okay. So anyway, yes, people still dumb out on 422 sucks. So that's all good.
I think I mentioned this before, but I got a meme because I signed up after you guys mentioned that, and it was something and it said, "Be like 422. Keep improving yourself, no matter how much of a pain in the ass it is for other people."
That's a pretty good way.
Yeah. Okay. So Chris will go, and then I'll add my other thing to go.
Okay. Go ahead,
Chris.
Oh,
What are you working on?
I removed the CD changer in Chrissy's mom's car because it was making some delightful machine gun noises from the dash. Turns out there's a broken gear in the CD changer.
Oh, it was much worse than that.
Yeah, it was loud. It took a long time.
I thought you fixed. Oh no, that was her dad's truck. Okay, sorry.
Dad's truck. I pulled all the CDs out of Snowflake because it was just chewing on them. Now it doesn't chew on them anymore, but it's still never going to put anything else in it. So neither of their CD changers work or exist anymore. But that's okay because when's the last time you use a CD changer? Like, Mental, have you pushed the button for the CD changer in the Mercedes yet to see the dash rise up?
No.
Okay.
But I'm gonna now.
No.
Well, but I did use the navigation on my drives out to California, and at least at 4 times, according to Mercedes, I'm just covered in sand. I'm in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
I'm on roads that don't exist.
I never even used it. But anyway, the chrome button right under the hazard, the half the dash pops up and out to do the CD changer. Anyway.
I did not know this. Oh man! As soon as those
very
CDs
exciting.
from Snowflake get here.
Yep, great. Let's see what else.
Keep waiting.
I finished the Solstice. That's race ready now. All the fluids are changed. New spark plugs. Got 2 rear view cameras on it. One on the back bumper and one on the passenger side mirror, both on separate screens on the dash. Fully cleaned out the fuel system, which involved siphoning all the gas out. That was really fun. And then I even drained the last that's out of the tank with a towel as I wiped the rest of the tank out to get all of the crud out of it.
Good choice.
It is perfectly clean inside now. Then took the tire fuel pump assembly, which is actually kind of a neat unit. It's got the pump with its little sock thing, and then uses some output of the pump to create like a Venturi system to suck fuel out of the bottom of the tank. Anyway, it's pretty neat. And so then it has a cup it sucks fuel up from the bottom of the tank into this cup. That cup then has the pickup for the fuel pump, which then pumps it into a swirl pot. And then out of the swirl pot, it actually goes up out of the tank. So it's a pretty complicated and good design for a stock fuel tank setup. So anyway, let's see
video.
what else.
Do you see that video?
Yeah, I see the video. I saw it before. I can't tell what you're pointing at. You're pointing what's on your screen is in a different spot than what's on my screen. Thanks.
And really, you're pointing at me, and I have the most boring background of everybody.
Yeah. What else did I do? Hood pins, and I put a big plate over the giant hole in the hood that the previous owner had cut in it. Now moving back to the kitchen for one more product to trim out the fridge. And I'll get working on ordering some trailer upgrades. Started getting ready for Lemons.
What do you get on your trailer?
I'm insulating it and wiring 110 in with a separate panel for 110 that'll also switch back over to DC so that I can have LED lights in it that I already bought, the strip lights.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I want this.
And also be able to plug in the generator into the side of it to have the 110 go with a battery that'll then charge off of that.
Very excited by this project. I can't wait.
And then the air conditioner heater combo has got to go in too. So
This is done.
anyway, trailer upgrades. And last, sorted some paperwork snag on the E400, but that's all set now, and it's apparently now on a truck.
Woohoo!
Yay, let's get it.
Not that I can register it when it gets here, but
I would hope though, like at least there's an arrival video on the E1R Instagram account.
Oh, we'll do a unboxing of my.
This is all I'm saying. Seriously. So you'll, like if you send it, me and Jeff got to figure out how to do video recording anyway, right?
It's Ryan's world.
Okay.
All right.
That's it.
What are we doing
Chrissy,
now?
you said you
Oh,
had to go back.
Chrissy's got something to talk about.
We're waiting.
Okay, so every Thursday, we put a theme up. So somewhere between the 4 of us, because we like to play themes or something. And then
We're bored.
Because we're bored, right? So last week we put the theme to our race group. So we have a Slack group with a whole bunch of us on there. We all participated. So I decided let's just put this out to everybody. So this theme we're going to so for tomorrow we are going wear green.
Which is today for the people listening.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Thursday. On Thursday for 9, please wear green. Could be anything. Could be a hat. Could be I don't care. Shirt.
White
could be
suit.
whatever you'd like to wear. But I'm thinking about green when flags go green when we are going to hit the track next. So wear something green, and then we will make a post on our Facebook, probably other ones too.
Also, tag us. Take a picture of yourself wearing the green. Tag us on the Instagram, and with the hashtag green.
So did you discuss this with my wife at all? Because
no,
she is teaching her college class, and on Thursdays she's doing theme day, which is how we started the discussion about theme day.
Yes.
Tomorrow is wear your favorite color day for her students.
Oh, okay. Well,
so it totally fits.
It does fit. Okay, so it's where if you're a racer, wear green because we're thinking about the next time we're on track, and we'll post up.
Awesome.
That's it.
News and notes time.
That takes on a whole new meaning with all those dudes dancing behind you. That's interesting. All right, so we get it. iRacing, it's kind of the new norm for not just the professionals, but for us amateurs as well. I think tomorrow we're trying to do a Lemons event. We're doing a Thursday.
Yeah, it's the first one.
Today, when you guys are listening, I may have missed the cutoff on that one, but I know a bunch of us are doing the iRacing Lemons event. I'm trying to get my license so I can do the Champ Car event at Daytona this weekend with Fat Crack Racing. But the professional world, which they just did, IndyCar at Barber and NASCAR has kind of embraced this. It is starting to have some actual serious implications. NASCAR professional Bubba Wallace lost his real world sponsor, Blue Emu, the ointment, after rage quitting the virtual Food City Showdown at iRacing Bristol Speedway. And when I say rage quit, I mean literally this dude, straight up just, that's it, I'm out, and then shuts off, hits a button, immediately resets in the pits and goes, I'm out, peace, and shuts it off.
Thing.
And then everyone starts giving him a hard time. So he takes to Twitter and starts mocking people that are mocking him right up until his sponsor, who is a title sponsor for NASCAR now, went, we don't like quitters. You're fired.
Nice.
Yeah, I heard from some people who know more about NASCAR than I do that it was more the Twitter than the rage quitting. Like, if you can't be nice to the fans who are interacting with you,
and that's
a much bigger problem than quitting a game.
You better embrace your inner Dale
simulation, not a game.
But if your fans are following you around, you better embrace your inner Dale Hart Sr., Bill Elliott, Richard Petty. Well, I couldn't be more happy with the Craco powered Kmart Sears sponsored Agave.
Put your hat back. Put your hat on as soon as your helmet comes off.
Play the game, man.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Jeff's got but
they're not paying you.
Right. Sure. Don't forget, Grasher is in training.
Yeah, no one ever makes money. Even if you're the winningest racer in the history of racing, you don't make money winning races. You make money by getting people to pay you to put their name on the side of your car and the side of your helmet.
Truth.
We've got links to both the Rage Quit and the article on our show notes.
So y'all know I love the Harbor Freights, right?
Don't we all, baby?
Yeah. So I have at least 8 jack stands in my garage. And I'm sure most of you people have about the same amount out there. Most of them. Some of them are Harbor Freight, but not most of them, I would say. But hat tip to our buddy Brian Medford from the Napa Know-How blog, because he keyed us up that there's a Harbor Freight recall on some of their jack stands. So there's the steel Harbor Freight Pittsburgh jack stands, which are the red ones, which are the ones Chris and Chrissy have in their garage as we speak. 450,000 of them. The 6-ton heavy-duty style, part number 61197. The ratchet teeth on the jack stands may not sufficiently engage the paw to a sufficient depth, possibly causing the stand to fail under load. Harbor Freight is planning on notifying the owners, and dealers will provide a gift card equal to the shelf price of the jack stands free of charge, but without a timeline, and who the hell is going to get to the Harbor Freight anyway because of the COVID. So I guess you could call them. There's a 1-800 number. There's a link. It'll be in the show notes. Chris, you had something to say?
I don't have those at all. My 6 tons are much older and not Harbor Freight, and they're fine.
Okay.
I have a set of 3-ton Harbor Freights, but I went out today and looked. Different part number.
Yeah,
clear.
I don't have the stamped steel versions of Harbor Freight either, so I got no part number to check, but I just want to make sure everybody's good.
Yep.
Any other news, or do we go to the news segment?
Any race results?
No, but I know Champ Car's already done an iRacing thing, and they had a live simulcast, but they didn't post up the results. And obviously, we're not going to be able to get that off our normal sources from Race Hero. So if you're one of the series organizers and you guys are having these iSeries, send us your results because we'd love to read that stuff on the air.
I read crap on the air.
No,
I'm kidding.
that's not.
No.
All right,
hold on, hush.
Come on.
News segment time.
Jeff is so excited about
I
this.
am so excited about this.
Really is.
I got to use my powers of alliteration. Racer Rona reaction. I just wanted to call it the Rona. It's a new segment where we're going to highlight the racing community and what it's doing in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Send us your stories if you're out there doing something cool, helping your neighbors, helping the world, or just doing something really stupid out of pure boredom. We're going to talk about it. Yeah. Who else? I'll do one just to show. We talked last week about, during the live show, about the trip that Dan Sykes is making to Manhattan to volunteer as a nurse in the hottest spot in America.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he is video blogging his experience, and it's pretty interesting. On day 2, he was called a crisis actor. So this is proof that it's available on the internet. Check it out. It's on YouTube. Subscribe. World's Fastest Fat Man is his screen name, YouTube name.
It's good to know. I am staggered. We've all known Sykes for how long?
You know him better than we do.
Okay, I've known Sykes for 5-6 years. The notion that him of all people that they would call a crisis actor, that guy's about as far away from a crisis actor as you can get. Yeah, this is a guy that is still racing an ancient 5 Series in AER and still doing quite well with it. So,
there it is. Check it out. The blog is interesting. We already mentioned iRacing, so I'm not going to mention that again. Lemons is going iRacing. We all know about it. Virtuallyslow.com.
Cool.
Our teammate, Hamza, the purveyor of all things, the guy that's actually getting his entire honeydew list and house thing done, so he's probably going to end up with a Z in his shop if he's not careful. He went in, it was he sent me a text, the style of mask, Conway, something. Anyway, so Hamza posted a YouTube video. Link is in our show notes. How to make these masks. My wife is actually making the same one. So if you've got a sewing machine and you're reasonably competent with it, you can make these. The filter element is a blue shop towel or a cut up allergen vacuum bag, one of the allergen vacuum bags. There's a number of different mediums that you can use for the breathing elements on there. But check out the link. Our buddy Hamza shows you how to make your mask. Make a couple. Make one for you, make one for your family, and then if you've got folks who can't get them, can't make them, or you've got first responders that are going through them like tissue paper, drop them off.
Yeah, they're washable, and you can replace the filter. I will mention that the proper Zepp blue shop towels sold the hell out everywhere. So
I'm sure
you might be going to the fabric store.
O'Reilly still had them available for pickup as of yesterday.
Oh,
and it was because my wife was like, I don't want to hoard all the blue paper towels. I'm like, hoard all the blue paper towels because someday this will be over and I will need them.
They're not going to go bad.
No.
Nope.
No.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything? We're just going to keep going here. Listener feedback.
Oh, best video of
I-
cats morphing on behind you.
This
Okay,
video
so
is freaking me the hell out.
So I was busy cleaning the basement this weekend, and I took a picture that Chris was dealing with, the sad job of cleaning out the crud in the Solstice tank. So I wanted.
And I'd love you say sad job because he was so happy.
He was
the
so.
look on his face was finally fix something.
Oh, he
I
was
was so
so
miserable.
mad.
Don't
I came
you just
out and was
love-
like,
Don't you just love getting doused in gasoline and like having your just hands in a fuel tank?
and when we were trying to like
It's so fun.
siphon the gas from the tank, and then it was like splurting out onto your shoe because you were trying to get it into the red can under your feet.
It soaked my sock.
I was like,
Gasoline.
you can't come in here and eat lunch. And it was the worst. Anyway,
On the upside, and do not take this advice. Gas kills germs.
his shoes are clean. Then the tops of his shoes and his socks are clean now. Okay. Anyway, so I asked what the folks were doing because I wanted to hear what everybody was working on. Hopefully, some of the race cars. So Carle was building a sim rig for which he didn't have a computer to run it, but he was also doing his rear E36 wheel bearings. Bruce was working on
He probably didn't take a month to do his, like some other people that we know.
No, he didn't. Bruce was working on his RV. He was making bed frames above front seats. Dean had reinstalled a base tube in the Porsche and gutted a passenger for some more lightness, with spelled MOAR. Dave Eckel was removing a mild 302 and replacing it with a hot rod 347. 302 is going into his buddy's lemony 1964 Falcon rebuild. Russell was putting a new intake and a timing on an old pretty car that I didn't know what it was. Cameron was installing hardwood floors that look a lot like our project, so I completely understand what's going on with that. Ben Mitchell was getting closer to ripping the converted blue 19 car on the rally circuit, starting at the 0 car whilst getting the wherewithal to put the motor back together, building transmissions. So as always, we'd love to hear what you're working on. I'm going to give you a heads up. There's probably going to be a what you drinking soon because, again, getting bored with life. So I'd like to
see
hear
more projects. Come on.
Yeah,
and if no shortage of projects.
I have so many.
If you're waiting for us to call you guys out, hashtag it, what you're working on, and then just tag us in your IG post as well.
Oh, how do you what?
And then hopefully Mental sees it because I didn't.
So, yes. And I hope you're drinking while you're working on those car and house projects. So thanks, guys.
Yay.
Sorry, my next, I'm doing notes down below.
Well,
Somebody
someone always thinks you're next when it comes to sending you birthday cookies. Hi, Carol.
Ooh.
Hi, Carol.
I was going to say, hi, Chrissy's mom.
We'll see lots of her.
So,
Hi, Jen.
Oh, that's nice too.
Because she still listens.
she does.
So she's going to become the favorite.
Oh, burn.
Oh,
Yeah.
When Vicky was making the corn chips, I'm like, hey babe, could you make these and send to my friends? She's like, why are you spending money to send chips to friends? Why don't we just like go to Amazon? I'm like, but these are homemade chips. Your homemade chips, they're better. And she's like, but it's just going to cost money. I'm like, how many of Chrissy's mom's cookies have you eaten? Well, I got these boxes. I think we could probably send them in these boxes.
That's awesome. Barter. This is what we're doing. Barter.
It's exporting goodwill.
Totally.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Jeff
terrible.
is really getting into this background behind him. I think he's kind
Background
of
is
channeling it.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
When this goes to YouTube, for those friends of ours who intake organic mood altering substances, don't watch Jeff's background, man. Just don't.
I was gonna say,
Or do and you'll get it, because all these things I just don't even get. I'm like, what's even happening here? It's tiring.
all of a sudden now there's Ned Flanders behind you.
Yeah. All right.
Figure it
Well,
out.
speaking of Ned Flanders, we're trying to figure out how to stay cool today because no one's as cool as Ned Flanders, really.
That was a great segue. That might have
Thanks.
been the best ever.
I appreciate that. So we all run our terrible cars really hard and abuse them in ways they were never meant to run, or with engines, they just violate them that they were never meant to have, or mods they were never meant to have. So really, the stock cooling system probably isn't up to it. And if anything, over the years, the most failures I've seen in Lemons have been cooling related in one way or the other, or at least they could have been helped by cooling. So we're going to talk a little bit today about how to optimize your current system and then how to improve it. Really discussing today the water and oil cooling for the engine only. The similar principles apply for other things, but we're not going to get into trans coolers or diff coolers or cool shirts. We'll do all those things probably another day, especially cool shirts and coolers. That's a nice topic.
Yeah, we're going to do that
someday.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about the motor cool today.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. This is going to get kind of deep. Some people are going to love it. Other people's eyes are going to glaze over until they have a problem, and then they're going to love it too. So bear with me on this one. All right. So first, we're going to think about the system in general, understand it. So the engine is putting heat into the water and oil. The radiator or the cooler, whatever it is, heat exchanger, is there to transfer that heat to the air. So you need to make it as efficient as possible. First, check your simple things. Is your radiator core clear of debris, or does it have a whole bunch of fin damage? Like, is this the corroded, crappy one full of leaves that you pulled out of a field? That's not getting a lot of air through it. It's not going to be efficient in taking the heat out of the water. So look for that. You also need a good cap. It needs to be on the radiator to pressurize the system, because the pressure raises your boiling point. So you use a higher PSI cap if you can. That'll give you a little extra headroom on top. Now, if you have a thermostat, you do have a thermostat. What that does is controls the flow based on temperature. Now, generally, I suggest using the stock one because you can use a lower temp one, but all that does is lower the floor of your cooling range. It doesn't raise the ceiling. And we need to make sure that we've got enough of a ceiling for your capacity. So usually a lower temp thermostat is just kind of a Band-Aid. It's not really fixing your problem. Never run without a thermostat at all, though, too, because all the flow of the system will be all out of the design specs for everything. So at least put a restrictor plate in if that's the way you want to run. But we've run in every car we've ever had a stock-ish thermostat and never had a problem. That's all.
Before everyone gets into this, because we've had beer-fueled discussions sitting around the campfire about this. And there are people that are right now adamantly disagreeing with you. No, the thermostat is restrictive and it keeps the water from flowing. So please explain, because we all know that you're the mechanic smart guy on this one. Please explain why it's a bad idea. Just the flow's out of spec, but what's the other big point? Because I know what I'm thinking, but you're going to probably say it a lot smarter.
I have no idea what you're talking about. The flow is spec. This the system's designed to flow at a certain speed. And a certain flow.
And so if it flows too fast, if your hot water is going through your radiator too fast, what's happening?
Well, some would argue that it's the same because it just flows through twice. Others say, well, it doesn't pull as much heat out every pass. So I like to think that these engineers that did all of this, and especially
we're going to get into an engineer fight.
Well, when they're designing stuff to last for a long ass time, which most of them are in these quality OEMs, they probably are have some idea of what's good, especially when it comes to heat management, because that has to do with emissions, it has to do with longevity, it has to do with all kinds of things. And I've never really had a problem with it, despite all the stuff we've run over all the years. And even when I've had cooling problems, like on the street, the thermostat has never solved the problem. Like, unless it was a failed
removing
thermostat.
The thermostat. Yeah,
yes. A failed thermostat, sure, but removing it or going to a lower temp one never solves your problem. That's just a Band-Aid and hides the real issue. Which once you fix the real issue, it's all fine. So,
and the only time I've ever had success in going to a lower temperature thermostat was when I lived in Nebraska. I had a pickup truck that I bought in Georgia, and I went into the auto parts store and said, my heat is not getting very hot. And the guy just looks at me and literally throws the new thermostat up in there. And I swapped it in the parking lot, and it was great because that's why you get a lower temperature thermostat, so that, it'll open up and I can actually get hot water through my heater in the driver's compartment. But
the other way around, but
the other thing when you're,
but
if you're trying
to get something wrong, check it off your bingo card.
It's called the free space. But if you're like you said, you're trying to solve the problem in the wrong direction if you're doing that.
All right. Yes. All right. So next, think about the air that's going through the system, going through your heat exchangers. Air is lazy. It wants to avoid difficult situations like your loser cousin who doesn't do crap. Okay?
Thanks for the laugh. We needed that.
Yeah. Thank you. You have to force the air through the radiator and then also give it a path out the engine bay. Like you got to kick your loser cousin out of the basement and give him a path down to the unemployment office or the, wherever.
Can we say indigent child?
Indigent child, sure.
Instead of cousin.
Child
Why is the cousin living with you? I don't know.
I don't know. Because if he's that much of a loser and he's living in your basement, you want to get him out.
Yeah.
Well, first off, they're a child. You can't get unemployment for a child.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how old they are.
It could be an adult child.
Right? That's what I'm thinking.
Either way.
Look, it's like being sort of pregnant. You're either an adult or a child. You can vote or you can't.
All right, Chris, keep going.
Anyway, so you've got to get air in and you got to force it in. So ducting. You've got to close up all the holes in the front of the car near the radiator. So what comes in the grill has to go through the radiator because the air doesn't want to go that way. It wants to just kind of go around or through wherever's easier because a good heat exchanger is going to take some effort to go through. So you make it so it has no choice by filling all the holes. Use sheet metal. We've used like rigid foam. We've used expanding foam. We've used rags, like all kinds of junk, whatever it is. Duct tape. Fill those holes. Air has no place else to go. You can even project the ducting out of the bumper a little bit so it can capture some of the air at the front of the car. Spoilers and splitters help with this too. And also the little flat trays you get under the radiator. Like a Miata has a little horizontal tray by the radiator.
Mm-hmm.
F bodies have this vertical piece kind of under the radiator. Those things are there for a reason and really work.
Top of the radiator too.
Yeah.
Because if there is a gap between the core support and the radiator itself, you basically have to think about the high pressure that is in front of the radiator. Mm-hmm. And if that high pressure has a way to go around the radiator, it is not working.
Yep. So and all those little things matter. Make sure you have them there or put something else extra on it too. You also have to get air out. The air is coming through the radiator at high pressure. It's going now into the engine bay. If it stacks up in the engine bay and has no way to get out, it's not going to be able to get in the front of the radiator either. So there are things you can do with that, like make hood extractors in the hood. So if you want to see a good example of this, ever stop by and look at our RX-7 Betty. Has one of the nicest looking hood extractors I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's amazing because that guy that built that car was really good with sheet metal and it is gorgeous. So it's just where the hood ducks down behind the radiator to help give a low pressure air for the air to get out. And that also actually helps generate downforce because the air is going over the top of the car then too.
Because downforce is what really Betty needs.
Yeah, exactly.
But it makes the Rain-X work really good on the windshield.
It does. Yep. The other things you can do are like vent the fenders so that they create a low pressure area at the bottom of the fenders behind the wheels. That sucks air out of the engine bay too as it goes by the side of the car. Yes, Jeff.
A lot of the stance guys are venting the back of the hood. They're just like stacking, I guess they're flat stock or whatever, and they're extending the back of the hood mounts so that the back of the hood pops up like a cowl induction, except it's not inducting, it's trying to vent.
Yeah.
Worth it, not worth it, good, bad, indifferent. Tell me.
It works when you're standing still or close to it. Because then the heat will just rise out the easiest way. But once you're moving, the base of where the windshield meets the hood is actually a high pressure area.
Hence the cowl induction back in the 60s that the Mopars are running.
Yes.
And it'll shove air into the engine bay that way. And then you actually have more air in your engine bay. You're trying to evacuate it and create low pressure there, let alone high.
And it starts to conflict with each other. Like it's going in the opposite direction and runs into the heat that you're trying to exchange out.
Yeah. So you ruin your flow through the engine bay that way. So
I actually knew that answer, but I wanted to.
Yeah, I know.
And if you don't understand what he's talking about when he says high pressure and low pressure, just Google Bernoulli's principle.
Mm-hmm. The other thing you can do, you can create a low pressure area in the engine bay and behind it with a splitter or a spoiler in the front, something so that when the air is blocked in the front of the car and it creates low pressure behind it, so it'll suck through what it can from the engine bay as it dumps out past the back of the engine.
Cool.
Yep.
So when you first start racing cars, it's kind of, there's two schools of thought when it comes to most of this endurance racing. Is one of them is, buy a fast car and make it reliable, and the other one is buy a reliable car and make it fast. In both cases, you're going to get faster as it goes on. You're going to be better drivers. Your car is going to be more reliable. This is when these cooling problems start to show up. Unless it's something blatantly obvious, like a clogged radiator or a failing water pump, you're not going to notice until you start going faster. And then the car's on the track longer. You're on the track longer because you guys are going faster. And you're going to notice your temperatures. And there's an insidious nature to this. And the temptation as you start getting faster is to start ripping things out of the engine bay because they weigh, like the standard factory ducting behind a radiator that Chris is talking about, fan shrouds, things of that nature. And this is where you're going to start running into problems because air is going to go around that radiator rather than through it. And it's going to start becoming an issue. You need to be proactive about that. I love to talk about the Thunderbird that I run with the Inglorious Bastards.
Thunderbird!
Texas. Thunderbird! Woo! And exactly this. The car was never fast enough to really start overheating, and then they started getting that sorted out, and then they got the engine figured out and the transmission figured out, and all of a sudden it was running, and then they could not for the life of them figure out the cooling. And he went and bought the biggest radiator that could physically fit behind that hood, and it still wasn't working. And it was exactly what Chris was talking about. He had to sit down one day with a lot of actual aluminum duct tape and 10 snips and force the air to come through that radiator. One time when we were doing some work on the car, we pulled off one of the pieces of metal tape that sealed the induction from the front bumper through the radiator, pulled it off. The car overheated. We had to come back in and put back on a 3-foot section of tape because the air was taking the easy way out.
Yeah. And Jeff, you want to talk about what you're writing right now because it's a perfect spot for it.
Oh, do you want me to do that? Yeah. I was going to put it a little later, but so we've run some turbo cars, and we've run some turbo cars we built the turbo for that didn't come from the factory turbo. And a little bit later, I'm going to be talking about like adding oil coolers and stuff like that. But there's more than one cooler in the front of your car, most likely. There's oil coolers. If you got an automatic transmission, there's transmission coolers. If you got an intercooler, you're going to have an intercooler. And it is highly possible to just overstack the front end. And as you stack, you get heat soak from one cooler to the next, to the next, to the next as they go back. So if the front mount intercooler is generating so much heat, as the cold air comes in at 60 degrees and passes through that intercooler, it's now leaving at 90 degrees. And it's getting to the transmission cooler, and it's leaving the transmission cooler at 120 degrees. You're already losing that 40 to 50 degrees that you're trying to pull out with the radiator. So you just need to be aware that sometimes you're stacking too much in the front end, and I guess that's where I'll end it there because we'll talk about it in a minute.
You're also not getting as much airflow through it too, and it's going to be more turbulent. It's
slowing
going to
down.
have a harder time. It's going to stack up a lot. So if you can separate those coolers out, that's effective. Like we did with the Honda, the first real race we ran with the turbo that we were going for anything like the time, we were overheating despite everything we were doing. We moved the oil cooler from in front of in the stack with the intercooler and the radiator to its own spot where the headlight used to be with some ducting on it. And it made a big difference. It wasn't enough, but it made a big difference just moving that cooler alone. So
yeah, and it was too small of a cooler, and there's more than things to do, but position matters.
Yeah, totally. All right, so now you've got your air flowing. It's flowing well. It's ducted well. It's going where it's supposed to be. It still might not be enough. Now you're going to need a bigger radiator. So when looking, you're going to need to get some dimensions to figure it out. Maybe you've got a car that you can get one from the better model. Like if you've got a V6 Mustang, get one from the V8. If we've got one in our Solstice that was from the turbo model. Platform mates too. Like the Civic one we used to run was from a 91 Integra AC automatic because that was the thickest core and it would fit right in. So if you can't get one of those now, you're going to have to go custom. So go to this, or whatever your space you can have for the radiator, even think about what you have to cut out, measure what that box looks like. What is your width? What is your height? And how thick can you go? And the thickness matters a lot too, because now you need to add your fan onto it. So think, where is it? Can it handle a little bit more in one side and less than the other? You have to look at all that stuff. So you also need to know where the inlet and outlets are going to need to be. or at least where they can be and be tolerable. They're always going to be on one side or the other. Sometimes they're both on the same side, and you need to know that to pick it out. So from here, go to Summit Racing. Go to the radiator section, and you can start narrowing it down by dimensions. Put in what as close to dimensions you can. Use a broader range to start off. Also start putting in where the inlets and outlets are. Start broad, gradually work your way down until you get to a small number. See how close you can get to your ideal. If you can't get it quite right, back off on a couple of them. See where you end up. It takes a little while of poking through it, but that's just how we figured out that we can end up with a Circle Track V8 radiator in the Civic. It just barely fits, but it does fit, and it's the biggest thing that could go in there, and it kept a car that couldn't run full speed in April in the Northeast to one that we can pound on in August, and it's fine. It just needed a bigger radiator, and the Honda ones weren't going to cut it. Nor was the Volkswagen Scirocco one that the internet said will fit just fine, and they're running in Arizona.
So
There's no problem.
The internet lied. I'm a French model. Buongiorno.
Exactly. So it takes some time playing with the catalog, but it works. Just have your measurements solid, know where your inlets and outlets have to be, and where your cap location is, things like that. There's so many choices. It's amazing how many things are out there. You will find something. You just have to spend your time with the catalog. Mental.
Now, did you call Summit, or did you just actually sit there with your giant brain and click in the dimensions?
I didn't take much of a giant brain on this one. It's really just, I know it's this big by this big by this big. And so you start putting you go to the radiators, you can start doing it by dimensions, and that's it. So,
okay, because I know for some of the more common applications, if you've got your V8 powered stuff, your F bodies and your Mustangs and stuff, you can call and actually sit and have a conversation with Summit or Jags and those, and say, look, I'm doing this, and this is what my problems are, and this is primarily where the RPM range where it lives, and they could offer you some good solutions.
If this
I
is
called
common,
Summit a couple of years ago, and I was like, so we have a problem with our S10 overheating. Some jerk off mounted a tri-hull boat in the front of it, and how big does the holes need to be in the tri-hull boat, and the fan shrouds are no longer it was They weren't helpful.
If you've got something common and the motor is common, you can probably find something. The stuff I'm talking about is the wacky stuff, but that's what Lemons is about. Like our case, it's a 07 Acura motor in an 89 Civic. Like, there's no book for this. Come on, this motor doesn't fit at all. We had to cut a hole in the hood. Like, it doesn't belong.
we had to put a hood on a hood.
Yeah.
It's dog. We heard you like the hood.
Yeah. So this is for the really wacky stuff. So, all right, now you've got a radiator. It's in there. Your hoses aren't going to fit because everything's a hot mess.
Oh, my hoses, they fit.
Well, when they're that small. So
flaccid and flexible.
Here's what you need to know. You need to know the inlet and outlet size for what's on the radiator and what's on the motor, the approximate shape, and a rough measurement for length that you'll probably estimate a little high as you're used to. So when you get that, Gates has amazing online catalogs, and I've got links to 2 of them in the show notes. The first one is where you just put in the dimensions, 1.5 inlet, 1.75 outlet, 18 inches long, and it'll give you several choices. That way isn't quite right for some because it doesn't really show you the real shapes of things. So the other one is a just huge, long PDF of pictures and dimensions and part numbers. And so it's all sorted by dimension of the opening size. So like for ours, I just scrolled through knowing my approximate dimensions and approximate shapes and looking at the parts and seeing what's there and making a short list on a notepad of which ones were close and then narrowing it down by seeing what was actually available because I didn't want to find something completely unobtainium. But in the end, you get the Gates part number, which you can then go to an order from Rock Auto or use the cross fluorescence to get from Flaps. And this is how we ended up with the upper radiator hose from a DeLorean And the lower radi hose in our car is the upper hose from a Saab 9.5 V6 turbo. So
does it still have
okay.
the metal extension in it?
No, that's long gone. That was
Okay.
the old radiator. This is the new radiator. So
All right,
yeah.
and bonus, if you can't sleep at night, paging through a Gates catalog will absolutely just put you right out.
Like I said, this is not exciting, and it's going to glaze a lot of your eyes over until you need it. And really that Gates catalog saved us, because the hose that we have on the bottom, the one from the Saab, it's like a pig's tail. This thing is a curly Q, but it goes from two completely different sizes to another, and it is a mess. And I almost, if I could have a hose designed for this, it's pretty much this one, and it's the only one that looked like it. And who knew? I thought this would have been a real problem otherwise. So that worked out great. All right. You're through most of it now. From here, you have to make mounts, but if you got this far, you can probably figure out how to make a mount.
You're like,
this
is the easy part.
Yeah.
Like, it's just got to be in there. Don't mount whatever you don't mount it hard. Make sure it can move around. It needs to move around a little bit, especially if you get bumped, which occasionally happens.
Wiggle it just a little
It
bit.
needs to move so it doesn't break. Make it move. Fans, yes, you need them. People say, well, we're always moving. Yeah, we have yellow flags.
Oh, until you're not.
My car speed is way faster than that fan. I'm just gonna push through the air.
Yeah.
What's the longest number of yellow laps? Any Jeff, how many yellow
like 4-hour shifts that were just yellow
or mostly yellow? You'd race for a little bit and then they would come back.
Yeah. Or how about a red flag? You're going full tilt and then stop.
Stop.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Stoked, right.
Had to do that in the Civic. I think, isn't that what we think cooked the axle? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so you need a fan. Get the biggest one you can. And a lot of people say, oh, I got this Spal super mega fan. It's super thin. It's only an inch, half an inch thin. It's crap. Thin fans are crap. They flow their rated CFM when they're in free air, and only in free air. So those small motors just don't physically have the capability of putting out the torque to pull through a big radiator or pull through a couple coolers. It's physically impossible. Jeff,
anybody ever gone canoeing? Raise your hand if you've gone canoeing. How many people are like, you know what I want is the thin paddle? I want the paddle that is really thin, and I'm just gonna move it.
But it's technologically advanced. No, it's technologically advanced.
The carbon fiber?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, the blades in the fan can be thin, but if the motor is a thin little motor, it's not possible for it to generate the torque you need.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is what you need some depth to the fan.
Yeah.
Because if the blades aren't angled, which I've seen a lot of those little electric motors, because they don't have a very strong motor, the blades are almost straight.
Yeah.
Because it uses speed versus bite.
It all comes down to the torque of that motor.
Yeah.
Here's the key. Get the deepest one you can, but specifically find the one that has the highest power draw, the one that pulls the most amps, because that's the biggest motor. The biggest motor is pulling the most amps, which is going to pull the most air through a difficult circumstance. So that's how you go on these. Yes, mental.
And I'll put you on the spot, and I apologize if you don't know. Is there a Junkyard Solution fan that you like?
Well,
just depends on the car.
Jeff, I thought was about.
You could do the junkyard one, because I want to talk about the shrouds.
Oh, go find a 1982 Saab,
like the sliders in a Jeep.
No, the Ford Taurus 3.8 or the Lincoln Mark 8 have big ass fans in them. Apparently, some Volvos too. So much so that some of those cars have these specifically like big thick, like 4-gauge wires going to relays and fuses just for the fans. Or mental, actually, the one in your car, the fan is enormous, and it's like a 3-speed fan, and coming off track, you hear that thing really wind up. Like small children and animals need to stay away from the front of the car.
If there's a little man who has to go contact and then push it with their hands and start it, that's a good fan. Chris, yeah. I know I colored this section green because I really wanted to talk about fan shrouds.
Okay.
We already
do.
talked about the front of the radiator and the high pressure system. A fan without a shroud is like a fish without a. I don't know. There's no thing I want to say here. If it's not ducted, there's a reason that ducted fans just work so much better.
They're on every single OEM.
Yeah.
Like everyone.
Yeah. So when we had the boat and we were overheating with the boat and it was a regular S10 with old stock motor, we cooled that sucker down by fixing the fan shroud. And it's just like a 2-piece of plastic that clamshells around the fan, but it lets the fan do the work because instead of pushing off the ends of the blades, it pushes off the sides of the blades and pushes it towards the engine where all that stuff is supposed to matter. Flow matters. Go ahead, Chris.
And that was a big-ass mechanical fan. And if you have one of those on your car, keep it. Keep it. Put a severe duty clutch on it. Yeah, it's going to cost you a couple horsepower, but you know what? It is never going to fail.
Yeah.
And you're always going to have all kinds of speed.
Greatest thing ever. Flex fan. No, I don't want crap flexing. That goes back to my paddle thing. Like, I think I want the flexible paddle, not the rigid paddle.
And it's because it's going to flex. It's going to go to the path of least resistance. I think where a lot of people get in trouble with shrouds is they're in a race, they're doing well, and then the radiator freaks out on them, and then they call in, they yank, you got to pull the shroud off to get to everything, and they're like, no, we don't have time for the shroud, we don't have time for the shroud, we don't have time for the shroud, and they don't slap it back on there, and it's a
minute. Take that minute.
Or they pull it off because that is weight reduction.
In the way. Yeah, exactly.
We are faster now.
I had an El Camino that it overheated just because there wasn't a shroud. I had a big mechanical fan on it, and the air would just move around the fan instead of being sucked through.
What car were we working on where I put my hand in the fan like 3 times?
All of them.
Was that in Laguna? Was that Mo's car?
Might have been. Yeah.
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 Fan shrouds, save your frickin' fingers too, everybody. just leave the gosh dang fan shroud where it belongs.
Yep. Now, here's another thing I want to make sure I talk about. When you're putting fans and shrouds on, don't use the through the radiator zip tie things.
I hate these.
Also for oil coolers too, do not use them. Over time, they will rub on the radiator tubes and they will put a pinhole in them because they've got pressure on them. Like it's I'll tell you one application we can use them for in a minute, but anything heavy, anything that moves, it's going to fail your radiator. And ask me how I know, Tom Lamino.
Chris, how do you know?
Right. I ended up changing the engine with Tom in a junkyard motor one weekend in his Golf because the little zip tie thing that went through the radiator rubbed a pinhole in it for the fan attached, and it very slowly peed all its coolants out until it completely cooked that motor. That was a shame. I didn't get to drive it with the good motor. We were way out of contention, and I lost all kinds of time.
And how many hours did it take you to do that swap? All of them.
Yeah. And it took 2 hours to cook the motor of it gradually peeing itself out. Yeah. So, yep. Cool. And then some of the day we're going to talk about some of the day we're going to talk about how to help your idiot friends not blow your car up, and we'll talk about things like a coolant pressure light. That's a different day.
Ooh.
Yes. Anyway, lastly, you've got this radiator now. It's in. It works. You want to protect it from various assorted flying debris that you're going to hit. Like, because
this is lemons.
Well, after this last race,
not just lemons.
Anything.
Every race, yeah.
I pulled a rock the size of like a good fridge ice cube out of the radiator.
The chicken
area.
mesh.
Yeah, but it poked a hole through the chicken mesh. It popped right through it, like nothing. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, I need something better than this. Also, because I knew the chicken mesh was having some impact on airflow through it, because it was a good solid 10 inches in front of the radiator, way out at the front of the bumper there. So I did some digging, and there's a great aerodynamics section on the Grassroots Motorsports forum with one of the guys that writes for GRM occasionally comments on, Steve Stafford. He someone asked this question. He suggested a fiberglass honeycomb mesh. Goes right up against the radiator, about an inch thick.
This is new.
Yeah, you'll see it when you see the Honda next. And so but you can cut it with a razor blade and you can put it on. And this is the only time you can use those push with radiator things, because this stuff weighs nothing. There's no pressure on it. It's not doing anything.
Oh, and it doesn't move. Okay.
It doesn't move.
Ooh, Chrissy's showing us pictures.
And when you put it right against the radiator, it doesn't have the aerodynamic impact of something that's, that's inches and inches away. Plus, it's an inch thick and it's really sturdy. So when it gets hit by something, it'll absorb that impact and spread the load out, and it won't damage your radiator.
Actually, and it looked kind of cool.
I'm sure this is fantastic, but if only the engine nerds are really worried about their chicken mesh way up there. I think.
But if you're not getting enough air through your radiator,
I suspect a chicken mesh. But I'm saying for 9 out of 10 people out there, put the frickin' chicken mesh and not worry about it.
I mean, this was only like $20 for a sheet that was bigger than our radiator. I think I didn't even use half the sheet. So we've got enough for another radiator out of this. So,
do we have a link to where to get this stuff?
I got it on Amazon. It was called Radiator Honeycomb or Mesh or something. Really,
that works because this is a great solution.
Yeah. We've used our share of chicken mesh for years and years and years. It's like the mechanical fan. It's not going to fail you until you get like the boot,
I saw it and said, this is a better idea. I like this. And so I bought it and I put it on.
I'm not against it. I'm just saying.
Because even with the chicken mesh, Chef, we still had a lot of damage to the minor cooling.
Absolutely.
fins.
You had to continually fix it, and you had to continually replace it because it gets holes in it.
Well, but I'm talking the radiator itself still was getting damaged by things
because the holes were big in the chicken mesh.
And or even up at the top where like above the bumper below the hood, there was that gap, and I couldn't get any chicken mesh to fit in there. So this fills that, for example, too. So you can use both. Even have a great time.
Everybody, make sure you check off chicken mesh on your bingo card.
Oh, no.
I didn't get chicken mesh on my bingo card this time.
But you came in third.
Are you done, Chris? Because I have only one more topic.
I'm done.
I have one more thing to say, and I just a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to run a stock car.
Also, no one's left, Jeff. They're all bored and they turned it off.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Well, they're going to miss just the tip.
They're going to miss my good and very short tip, which is about oil coolers. Water is not the only thing that's overheating in your engine. Oil lubricates and cools your motor. Having an oil cooler is very important. If you're running a naturally aspirated turbo, I don't care what it is. If it's endurance racing, put on a freaking oil cooler. They're not that expensive. Yes, you can get cheap Chinese eBay ones.
You can dig them out of the junkyard.
The RX-7 has a great oil cooler on it, most generations.
All Crown Vic PIs, I think.
Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of oil coolers out there, but the cheap Chinese ones work. Tube and fin, not as good as stacked plate. I don't have to go too deep into that, but the stacked plate just works better. They cost more. But you can get them all widths, you can get them all sizes, you can get them all things. Obviously, the bigger the better. Stacked is better than tube and fin. Everything we talked about before about making sure the air goes through it, making sure the position matters. This is all really important. But I'm going to tell you one more thing about just going out there and buying your old cheap Chinese eBay oil cooler. It's the AN fittings. So you're going to have to put on AN fittings, and it's real easy to click that one's got giant outlets, and I want to do that one, click. And then you have to buy more AN fittings than you need because you got to get it to the tube size that fits your oil filter relocation kit, which is 9 times out of 10 how you're putting this in. You could spend way more on the AN fittings than you will on the cooler itself. And so you got to plan ahead. You got to know what you got to use AN fittings. You just got to be careful. You got to design it.
Most are using the AN fittings because of the hose itself.
Yeah, because you want to put on good hose, quality hose that's abrasion, pressure, heat resistant. It's not expensive. I got regular old cheap. I don't think it was rubber. I think it was neoprene or something hose that was on like a circle track place. I got it from Barron's.com. I'll link in the show notes. It was called like Bob's hose or Bill's hose or something. And it was designed for racing oil. So it was great. It was like no more per foot than you would pay for any other regular heater hose, but it was designed with the high flexibility rating and the high temperature rating and the abrasion rating. Like, you don't need to go steel braided, especially if you're in a cheap endurance series, because if you put on hundreds of dollars of steel braided hose, you're gonna get some laps.
It's not that expensive, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
No, but it looks too pretty.
yeah, I mean, we have it on our oil and fuel systems because like,
Well,
if I
yeah.
did all this work, I'm not going to cheap out on that.
Yeah, but Jeff, I heard that actually you were a huge fan of this, so much so that you actually keep stockpiles of this hose in different postal zip codes.
What?
Do I?
You got hose in different area codes.
Got it. I will say that most of the times when we have had a problem with an oil leak, it is usually from something other than the hose. Even when we buy the rubber stuff, it's because something fell off. It's because the barb was not tightened correctly. It's rarely that the hose got ran through.
Chrissy disagrees with that.
I do, absolutely. Yeah.
Which car?
So, Honda, New
I didn't
Hampshire.
buy that hose.
Well, we had it on
you
there,
didn't.
so we did, and we
came from a different area code.
We didn't think we needed it, and it was not because it was installed improperly. It blew apart. I'm surprised you don't remember that.
We specifically didn't put the blingy hose on because we said, "Oh, we don't want to look too cheaty," and it almost cost us the motor when the hose delaminated, started to come apart. This is in the our system goes from it's out of the engine straight to a big filter, remote mounted, and then straight to the cooler, and then from the cooler back to the engine. There's no bypass. There's no nothing. It all goes through it. And one of the fittings out of the cooler back to the motor, the hose just separated and blew up. And it wasn't that old. It was like within a year old.
It wasn't like it was cracked and old.
Throw the
Chrissy caught it.
Out. Get good hose. There you go.
Chrissy caught it with the pressure come down, and she caught it and moved right off the track and shut the motor off before blowing the motor up and before ruining everyone else's day with an oiled down track. So
I do remember that. I thought that was not.
No, that was just the hose. It was just crappy hose. So
I was going into 2A, and all of a sudden it was like big puff of smoke in the car, and said it was like, well, that's weird. What's going on? And then it was right before the light came on. The emergency bad red light to say that it's bad. So
get good hose.
Get good hose. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Completely.
How often should you be replacing these, or looking at like every season? Twice.
If you buy good stuff, like you can go
forever.
years. You can go years. Yeah, stuff that has fuel in it and breaks down more often than stuff just with oil, but you can go a long time. Probably longer than any of these cars are going to survive normally. So.
I don't think we ever replace the hose in the boat once we put the first oil cooler in.
Yeah, and that's in the Ombre now still.
Yeah, and that was the Bill's hose, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The stuff I got at the Circle Track store. So, but anyway, anything else for the good of the order on cooling other than how cool is it to dance without a shirt like the guy behind me?
I like the girl that's dancing next to her.
Depends on the person.
Next to him.
That's true.
I like watching not the stars, the other people. They're fun.
We've got members of our team who like to dance without a shirt. Several, and some can and some shouldn't.
True.
Just the tip time.
Tip.
All right, this is all based on Jeff's story earlier about the jack stands. So this is all about safety during your quarantine. You should go and check your safety gear that's in your garage for imperfections, because now's the time to do it, because we're all looking at things a little differently because we got time. So check your, like Jeff said, check your jack stands for cracks. Try to check out those Harbor Freight ones that were just recalled, and making sure that your teeth are engaged fully. But here's some other things you can check and really replace if you see it, because you probably didn't do it before. You probably said, it's fine, but now's the time. Check your floor jacks for hydraulic leaks. That's the little up and down ones, floor jacks that you pull around, not the quick jacks, but any hydraulic leaks are good to fix. Frayed electrical cords, or fix that janky cord or drop lamp that has been working, but it works for now, but when it doesn't, we don't want to play the old Sparky game. Did you ever play that game?
Mm-hmm.
We've played that game.
That's fine. It'll just spark a little. Don't worry.
Just don't touch this part to this part, and then you'll get zapped. This was an old lamp that we had a long time ago, and we don't play this game anymore now that I'm safety squirrel. Anyway, uneven wear on a bench grinder stone, because we don't want it to break apart, because that makes it a little easier when you put a piece of metal to it. Right? Mansel's pointing to his neck. That's a thing. Your compressors. How about drain the water out and check for rust inside? And also check those worn hoses. Cracked or scratched face shields or safety glasses now are getting deep. Make sure your PPE is in good order. And
everybody knows what PPE is now.
I know.
Talk about it on the news all the time.
I like when people call it PPNE or PPEs. I'm like, really? Really? Come on.
It's like VIN number. No, it's
ATM machine.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. All right. Last one. Fire extinguishers. Make sure they're charged, and then get rid of the ones that aren't. And then I said, how do you get rid of the ones? And we weren't really sure. So make sure you go to your fire department, figure out somebody locally that will accept them, or at least just put them off to the side and put a sign on it to say this is not the right one, just so people aren't. If you ever needed one, you aren't picking up that one first.
My local town on hazardous garbage day will take them.
Yes, but that's once a year, and it's probably canceled because they're usually in April for Earth Day, and now that's not going to happen. So if you don't have an answer for what you're going to do with that now, at least have a plan and put them somewhere together. Put a note on it. Do something to kind of denote that it's the bad one.
Big Sharpie or paint that says "Do not use."
It says no. Broken. So when you're half on fire, you understand. Okay, not that one.
Please do not use this one. This one does not have enough pressure in it. You could write that. That's what I got. Fix it.
All right. Okay. Do we have any idea what we're doing next week?
No.
We do, but it's not developed enough for us to talk about.
It's going to be good, whatever it is, because we've got nothing but time, and we can really develop that topic before next week.
But we in the same way that we try to limit how many guests we have on the show, we're limiting our techno shows.
Yeah, because no one wants to keep listening to me babble on. That's
long.
for sure.
It's long. Yeah.
But you meant like.
Oh, but seriously, see, this will be one of those episodes that everyone starts listening to in the spring.
The system.
That's what I'm trying to get.
Wait.
The system is down.
For those of you not watching on YouTube, I am wearing my Strong Badge shirt right now. So
that cheat is grounded.
Yes. Stop playing Light Switch. Stop playing Light Switch Disco. Thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Cools It Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building as soon as the COVID is gone, because everyone can be a racer, even you.
Or iRacing when it's
whatever. If you're enjoying this podcast, subscribe. I don't want them to take my spot. I don't have a spot in iRacing. If you enjoy this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hate us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, or you know somebody doing something for the COVID emergency, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at Everyone Racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless, like us, there is no shiny side, then just keep the wheels down.
Stop the recording.